What the fuck even is 2020? This news came out last night, man, and I was pretty shocked. Whether or not that makes me a dumbass is totally up to you. I just didn't think it was going to happen, and I had talked myself into it never being a possibility. Really quickly, subscribe if you enjoy my content. It really helps me out. Thank you. Now, in recent months, this has been a rumor. Fans have floated this around. I just didn't think it was going to happen because I didn't think he fit Bill's criteria of what he desires as a quarterback. I picture that as basically what Tom Brady was, the standard pocket passer presence. And maybe that's because that's all that he's had for the past 20 years, and my mind just thinks he wants that because that's what he had. That is actually probably why I think that. But I just didn't think that he would go for, big, mobile, dual threat guy. I just didn't think it was going to happen. But now that it has happened, I don't see how you can't at least be a little bit excited about this. It's a very low risk, high reward type deal. I mean, the guy's a former MVP, for crying out loud. I don't really see a reason to hate it. Again, low risk, high reward. Let's go worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, he can't play anymore, or he gets hurt, he sucks, whatever. Okay, you move on to Stidham, and you go from there. But the way I see it is, before this signing, we had Stidham, and he's a big question mark too. We don't know how that's going to play out. If he sucks, then you're kind of left with nothing. I don't see Hoyer as much of anything, to be honest. Now with Cam, you have options. So if one guy sucks, you go to the other, and if both of them suck, then at least you tried. I think two options is better than one. And I also think that the starter, come week one, will be the guy who earns it in training camp. I don't think Bill Belichick is the kind of guy to just give someone the starting job based off of their name or their past. I think the guy who will be starting will have earned it. And the guy who has the better camp will be that guy. But the way I see it, the biggest question mark for the Patriots is their quarterback. You can have all these other moving parts, but the main question mark for the season is who is your guy for the future. And again, giving yourself options, figure that out. They have a really tough schedule. The team has some holes to deal with. It's going to be hard. Calling them a contender this year, I think, is a bit of a stretch. I think this year is more to, figure out which direction you're going and moving forward. And then next year, when you have a bunch of cap space, kind of making a bunch of moves and becoming one of the top teams in the AFC again. So basically what I'm trying to say is the stakes aren't very high. You might as well use this time to figure out what direction you want to take your team in. Are you going to go with Cam, or are you going to go with the young guy in Stidham? It's better to strike out with the bases empty than the bases loaded. But the reason why I say cautiously optimistic is because it's been pretty rocky for Cam the past couple of years. Last year he ended up losing the starting job due to an injury. Injuries have been a big thing in general for him. They've really piled up over the years. But the guy looks shredded. I mean, there was a video going around last night of him working out saying the Panthers gave up on him. That's cool. Light fire under his ass, whatever. Whatever he needs to do to go out and succeed, go for it. But that guy, he was an absolute ox. He was built like crazy. So nobody's denying that he's, big, strong, can fucking run you over, that kind of thing. But can he be durable? Can he start all the games that he needs to? That sort of thing. But it's been tough for the guy. In his last 8 starts, he is 0-8. And during those games, he has 9 touchdowns and 10 picks. So, it's not like he's been lighting it up with awesome numbers and they've still been losing. He hasn't played very well. If we're looking at his stats over the past few years, last year he only played 2 games before he got hurt. In those 2 games, his completion percentage was 56%. He threw for 572 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 pick. So he was off to a pretty rough start. The year before that, he started 14 games. His team went 6-8. His completion percentage was 68%. He had 24 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. And then rushing, he had 488 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had just under 3,400 passing yards. The year before that, 2017, his team went 11-5. His completion percentage was under 60%, so that's not very good. 3,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. But to make up for some of the passing woes, he did have 754 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. But yeah, basically 2018 was a pretty solid year. 2017 was pretty up and down. Last year, it was pretty ugly before he got hurt. I think the biggest question mark is his health. Can he stay healthy? And that's going to be a big factor in whether or not he's able to play to what we're used to seeing in typical Cam Newton super Cam fashion. One thing's for certain, training camp is going to be fun as fuck, and it's probably going to be the most interesting training camp I've ever been alive for. Last year was kind of interesting because Stidham's around. All right, Brady only has a couple years left. Let's see how the young guy looks. Now Brady's gone, and there's a question mark at the starting position. And I think it is going to be a fight for that starting job. The obvious choice would be, Stidham's played, 5 snaps professionally? So you go with the guy who's won MVP, for crying out loud, like, duh. That would be the more obvious thing. I think the Bill thing and what I would do personally, you got to earn it. Just because you have a big name attached to you doesn't mean you automatically get the starting job. You got to come in, you got to work hard for it, and you got to beat the other guy. And I'm going to enjoy that competition element to camp. Thinking about it right now, that really, really excites me. I've seen a lot of people saying that, this move is a vote of no confidence for Stidham. And I can understand where they're coming from, but I don't personally agree. I think just because you're giving your team options, I don't think that's in spite of your other guys' capabilities. I think you can still be confident in a player while creating competition and while giving your team options. I've also seen people say that, what is this going to do for Stidham's confidence? Like, is this going to kind of break him mentally? And, it could. I mean, we don't know. We could. But what I have to say to that is if getting another guy who has talent is enough to break you mentally, then you're not the guy. If you're that fragile, then you can't handle it and you're not ready, to be quite frank. But either way, it's kind of frustrating. Something big like this happens and people are very quick to immediately draw a line in the sand and hop on one side or the other. The knee-jerk reaction is you either have to love something or absolutely despise it. I don't really understand why we can't just wait, see things, be excited, be, skeptical, be whatever. But why can't we just let it happen, see it play out, and then you can form your strong opinion on whether you love it or hate it? Because then we'll have evidence, we'll have results, all that stuff. I just if you feel very strongly that you hate it, I don't really understand why, to be honest. I know he's got a bit of an ego attached to him. I wonder if that's changed because the Panthers did give up on him. I know that, obviously that could be a big, mindset switcher, where he was mentally before and after losing the starting job. So maybe he doesn't have that huge ego anymore. I assume that to some capacity he still does. But either way, he's not going to act up under Bill. We saw that with AB. He came, he acted up, he was gone within 2 weeks. So, if he's going to come in and be a diva and cause all these problems, he's going to get cut. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I really don't. And if I were to put money on it, this is my prediction. I think that Cam Newton will be the starter come week 1. But again, I have no fucking idea. But we also have to pump the brakes here a little bit because they still have problems at receiver. They're not super deep. So even if he does start and he is playing well, the weapons aren't great. But also, to be fair, the weapons in Carolina weren't very good, and he took that team to the Super Bowl. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so I think I was talking about worst case scenario. I don't actually think I talked about best case. Oops. But yeah, just a reminder, worst case scenario, he doesn't play good and, they go to Stidham. or they cut him or whatever. At least you tried. That's the way I see it. At least you tried. You tried something different. You swung and missed, and it happens. But it's better to swing and miss than not swing at all at a fastball going right down the middle. Okay. Best case scenario, he works out. He can still play. He's good, and you got something there. You found your answer at quarterback, and you can work on other aspects of filling the holes that your team currently has. So, there is risk involved, but it's very, very minimal. Very, very low risk, and the rewards, if he is good, are through the roof. So I don't hate it at all. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I'm excited to see if he can play. I hope he can. That'd be awesome for the team. It'd be crazy to move on from one MVP to another and have the transition be seamless. That would be awesome as a Pats fan. And it would be great if Cam can play and be healthy and whatever, to continue to wreak havoc on the league. That's a thought that's been going through my head since this happened. And that's fucking awesome. And that's very extreme. And there's a lot of question marks. And a lot has to go right for that to happen. But the fact that it is a thought that I'm having, and that it's a possibility, albeit a small possibility, but it is one nonetheless, that's exciting. Even if he's just in the middle, I feel like that's a success. If he's not sucking and he's not super Cam, if he can just be average to good, I feel like that's a win. And I feel like, you could have something there. I don't think they would split time between Cam and Stidham. It just doesn't seem like that's something they would do. I could be completely off base on that, and maybe I am, but I don't know. That's not something you usually see, and I just don't think that's something that Bill would be satisfied with. I think it would be one guy or the other, and that's kind of that. But yeah, overall, I think they're in a better position than they were in last night. Before Cam, they had one option, and if he sucks, you're like, what the hell do we do now? Now you have two. If one sucks, you can go to the other. And if both of them suck, it is what it is. You swung and missed twice. It happens. But it's good. I think it's very good that the Patriots are giving themselves options at the most important position on the field. But yeah, what do you guys think about the Cam Newton signing? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Comment below. Let me know. As always, like and subscribe. And yeah.